Today's date is August 17th. The time is 7:39. This interview is in relation to incident 2021-132224. It is an interview of Patrick Fox. I am Detective Constable Janine Tanino. My secondary and who will be in the monitor room is Detective Constable 2685 Nicole Roberts. And we are in the Annex Building, 236 East Cordova Street. The reason for the interview is on October 12th, Patrick Fox was convicted of breach of probation for not removing a hate website against his ex-wife Desiree Capuano. Fox was sentenced 6 months in custody and 1 year probation. Upon his release, one of his probation conditions is that he must remove the website within 48 hours of his release on that date. Our unit has been monitoring the website and confirmed that it was still operational as of August 15th. Patrick Fox has been arrested for breach of probation and is currently in our custody. During this interview, I may make disparaging comments about people involved in this incident or about other people. These comments do not reflect my opinion or the opinion of the Vancouver Police Department. And I will just be leaving the room to go get Mr. Fox. You just take a seat in the chair. I just sanitized it for you and I wiped everything down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And there's wipes here too if you need anything else or. Nicole's just gonna join us.
We get two of us today because again we're having technical difficulties.
So, like I said earlier, my name's Janine. I'm a police officer in our VPD DVAC section, so Domestic Violence and Criminal Harassment. This is Nicole, she works with me. I noticed you have a coffee and you had a cigarette outside. No washroom break, you're fine right now? Okay. If you need any water or anything, just let us know, okay? Do you need us to let anyone know that you're here right now? Any friends, family, anything?
Nope.
No, okay. And I'm sure this isn't how you plan to start your morning, but how are you doing right now?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So just so you know, the room is audio and video recorded. And there's cameras up here as well. Because we did have some issues with the audio, I do have it audio recorded here as well. So, I did sanitize your chair and the table as well. So understand that anything that you said to the police before should not make you feel like you have to say anything here to me today. If you felt compelled to say something earlier, that doesn't oblige you to say anything at this time, and you don't have to repeat what you said. You don't have to say anything further, and know that whatever you do say may be given in evidence. Has anyone threatened or promised any hope of advantage to talk to police today?
Nope.
Okay. And did you say something bad? Did anyone say something bad would happen if you didn't talk to me today?
Nope.
Okay. Did someone say something would go better for you if you spoke with me today?
Nope.
Okay. And do you understand?
Yep.
Okay. So I understand that you declined to speak with a lawyer and you do represent yourself?
Correct.
Is that okay? Just so that I make sure I understand. And you don't want to speak with a lawyer or have a phone call at all right now?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't want any misunderstanding here today. I want to be sure that we know that we're talking about the same thing. What's your understanding of why you were arrested today?
The allegation is a breach of probation, 733.1, I believe. The condition I'm accused of breaching is that I was required to take down the website, or at least make every reasonable effort to take down the website within 48 hours from my release from custody, which was on Thursday of last week.
Okay. Yeah, and my understanding is that you did serve some time at Fraser Regional for another breach. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, and was it for failing to remove the website as well?
Yes.
Okay. And just so that I'm clear, I'm probably going to say it wrong. So it's Desiree Capuano? Capuano.com. Okay, and so you were released on the 12th. You have multiple conditions, but one of those conditions, like you said, is to take down the website within 48 hours of your release. And as of yesterday, I believe in the morning, it was still active, which was obviously past the 48 hours. So that's my understanding of like why we're here. So I think we're both on the same page right now. And then the lead investigators did arrest you for breach of probation this morning, which you already said, exact same section as well, so good memory. And although I work in the same unit as Detective Dent, I was not in that unit for your original arrest. I have very limited knowledge of this. I've read some of his file, and I was aware that you were in the media for this. So my role is very limited in this. It's basically just to talk to you today in order to get a good understanding of maybe who you are and why we're here. I'd just like to get to know you a little bit more. Are you from Canada?
Nope.
Okay, and family, friends, like, do you have anything up here that do you have a life up here that you've built?
Nope.
Okay, where are you from originally?
The U.S.
The U.S., okay. Family there?
Nope.
No family at all? Okay.
Well, I have a son and an ex-wife, but I've had no contact with my son since all of this nonsense started back in 2016. When I was arrested in 2016, that was the last time I had any contact with him.
Okay.
My ex-wife, of course, being Desiree Capuano.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, and my parents as well.
So am
and I can imagine that's extremely difficult. You said the son, right? What's his name?
Gabriel.
Gabriel. Okay. And how old is he now?
20.
20. Oh wow. Okay. So an adult. Okay. And so those are the only two kind of family members you would have in the U.S. or?
I would say the only one. I wouldn't consider my ex-wife family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. And then in Canada, how long have you kind of been up here for?
Came here in 2013, May of 2013.
Okay. And do you have a technology background or?
Software engineer.
Oh wow. Okay. And did you work up here at all
Yes.
in relation to that? Okay. Well, we probably could have used your help a few minutes ago when we were trying to get this room set up.
Yeah.
So, just so you know what's going to happen here today, I'm going to ask you to tell me everything you know about this situation because, like I said, I don't have a ton of background on it. I'm not going to interrupt you. I might ask you some questions to clarify. As you can see, Nicole's taking notes. That's just so that I can pay attention to you and take in what you're saying. She might have some questions at the end that she might want to ask as well. If I ask you something and you're not sure about the answer, you can tell me so. I'm sure you do have a lot of the answers because you seem like a fairly smart guy and you know why you're here. So we have lots of time. Take your time. Do you understand? Okay.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to listen to what you have to say, and I'd like you to help me understand what's going on. Tell me everything about what has been happening for you since your release on Thursday.
Everything that has been happening. Well, on Thursday, I checked into the Belkin house. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's only been a few days.
Yeah. Have you stayed there before?
Yep.
Okay. And the process there, I've never actually been inside. I've been in the lobby and stuff. How does that work? Do you have your own room there? They feed you out of the cafeteria? How does...
They provide 3 meals a day. You don't have your own room. You share a little dorm with 5 other people. Well, there's 5 beds. I think there's only 4 other people right now in the room that I was in.
Okay. And you've been there since Thursday? Okay.
Yeah.
Do they kind of help you get set up with services? I'm not sure how they kind of reintegrate people into...
I have no idea about that.
No idea. You plan on, at some point, you were planning on getting back at things, work?
I'm planning on waiting until the first probation order, the one that requires me to stay in British Columbia, expires in December, and then returning to the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Of course, with this new charge now, I'll probably be in custody for the next 2 to 3 years, and then I'll go back to the U.S. at that point.
Okay. Is that what that's what you're expecting?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. So since you've been released, have you had any access to the internet?
Of
Phone,
course.
Computer? You said of course, sorry?
Of course, yes. I mean,
Okay.
everybody has access to the internet.
Well, some people, if they don't have a phone, they might not have access. I also don't know what the services are at Belkin. I don't know if they have a computer room or somewhere that you can access the internet.
Right. I have a phone and a laptop.
Oh, you
Both
do?
are
Okay.
capable of connecting to the internet.
Okay.
However, because one of the probation conditions on the first probation order is that I can only use the internet for employment and sending and receiving personal emails. I'm not going to comment on whether or not I actually accessed the internet since Thursday. Because if I say that I did access the internet, then I'd be admitting to violating that condition.
So, sorry, you're allowed to access the internet for work purposes,
Yes.
you said, and you're allowed to access the internet for email.
Yes.
So as long as you're accessing the internet for those purposes, you're not violating your probation.
Right. Now, what's mind-blowing about that is certain things like Google Calendar, for example, or your Google Contacts, those are on the internet. And so if you turn your phone on and you use your Google Contacts to pull up somebody's telephone number, you're accessing the internet.
Yeah.
So the conditions weren't the best written.
The clearest to make sure that you don't breach your conditions, at
Right.
least not that portion of the condition. Okay.
But hey, if they want to prosecute me for breaching because I accessed my Google Contacts so I can call a friend or something, well, more power to them.
Yeah, it is a bit of a weird, odd condition. Yeah, it should be a little bit clearer, you're right, just so that there's no confusion over what you're doing or what you're trying to do. I have to say I'm not the most tech savvy, obviously, as you can tell. I don't even know what is required. I know that one of the conditions is to take down the website.
Mm-hmm.
I've never created a website. I've never taken down a website. I've never even updated a website. So I don't even know what is involved in that. So when they say taking down a website, I don't know what that necessarily entails. Is it just like the click of a button, or?
Technically, like to say take down a website doesn't make any sense. You don't actually take down a website. You could just make it inaccessible, publicly inaccessible, or you could disable or change the DNS entries in the DNS server. But I mean, there is no taking down a website. That would be like saying taking down a television show. I mean,
So yeah, it would just be cut off so that no one could view it.
yeah.
Okay, and when you say that you just go in and you make it inaccessible to the public, is that just a click of a button, or is that like changing something? Like, how does that work?
There's a few ways that can be done. One is you could delete all of the content from the hosting provider.
What would that do? What would that do? Would that just make it so that you could search that, but there would be nothing there?
If you delete all the files that are on the web hosting server, there would be no content there for people to go to. So if they were to go to, let's say, DesiCapuano.com, it would just come up with a blank page. There'd be nothing. Well, actually, it wouldn't even be a blank page. It would just come up with an error saying that there's nothing there.
Oh, okay. And then you said the other one was DN.
The DNS, yes. That's the domain name service. When you type in something like www.microsoft.com,
yeah,
the DNS service on the network or on the internet converts that address or that URL to an IP address.
okay.
And so if you remove the entries from the DNS server, then there would be no way to resolve a given hostname to an IP address.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways you could take down. I know it's not the correct term, but we'll use it for the purposes of today. Like, there is a couple ways that you can take down a website if you needed to.
You could also add a password requirement on it so that if somebody went to the website, they would have to put in a username and password. Then the website would still be there, but nobody would be able to access it.
Oh, okay. And do you, the Desiree Capuano, do you have access to that website?
I don't.
You don't? Who would have access to that website? To update, like you just said.
Yeah, that I'm not going to answer.
Okay.
Partially because I can't answer it right now, I don't know. And that was done very deliberately. Before the probation began in 2018, and I've been over all of this before, but before the probation began, I transferred ownership and control of the website to another party so that way I couldn't be compelled to take it down or do anything with it. With the understanding that once I'm no longer on probation, then I would take back the website.
Okay, so before you had your probation, you signed over rights to the website, like access to it, to a different person, so that you wouldn't have the authority to take it down during your probation, with the hopes that when the probation ends, that's when you'll take it back over. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, and even if control of it wasn't given back to me after the probation is finished, it would be easy enough to just create another copy of it, another version. Because if you have all the source material, you just put up a new website.
Create a new
just
website
upload
with a
all the source
different,
material.
with a different, different
URL,
name.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, doing that doesn't violate the probation conditions at all, and there's nothing illegal about the website. So the prosecutor is just trying to use the probation conditions as a way to get the website taken down. There's nothing illegal about it, though. And I've been demanding that they prosecute me for criminal harassment based on the current website, because they convicted me of criminal harassment based on the original website back in 2017. And if the new website is the exact same thing as the old website and it's still online, it must still be criminal harassment. But the thing is, it's not criminal harassment, and they know that. And if they were to prosecute me for that and have another trial, then my ex-wife committed so much perjury and there was so much corruption and collusion that went on at that first trial. And there's evidence of all of that, and most of that is on the website. So if they were to prosecute me again and have another trial, then I would be able to confront my ex-wife with all of that proof that she committed all that perjury, and then she would have no credibility. I'd be acquitted, and then it would raise issues of how could I be convicted of something the first time, do the exact same thing, and be acquitted, which would bring the justice system into disrepute.
Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I
That's
understand
okay.
that.
It's all in the recording.
Yeah. So the first website, conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Created the second website thinking that there would be another criminal charge of criminal harassment, not breach or anything like that. It would be a criminal harassment charge, which would essentially create a new trial, which would call into question all the same evidence, because it is the same, like you're just saying, and then it would have a different effect. You think that there wouldn't be a conviction, and then it would question the entire first trial and everything that went on in it because of the evidence that was presented there.
Fair enough.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same. I know there's been a lot. Like this isn't just a single incident. It sounds like there's a really long history here, and I think there's probably a lot that's happened prior to the creation of these websites, because, like you said, you haven't seen your child. So no one, I think, wants to go back to jail over and over and over again. I think that a lot has happened prior to the creation of these websites. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding everything correctly, because this is your chance to kind of
Isn't the purpose of this discussion, though, to try to get me to say things that can be used against me at a trial?
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay.
No, that's why we go through all of that, right? That's why I said anything you say may be given in evidence, right? It's not necessarily to get you to admit to anything. It's to make sure that we understand all the facts. And sometimes the facts don't lead to our charge.
Okay.
And if I may step in too, sorry. Like, part of the reason why we talk to people is because we don't want our investigation to be one-sided, right? Like, you're part of the investigation, you're one half, and then we have the other half. So that would be an incomplete investigation if we just failed to speak to you at all about any of the alleged charges, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and just because, like you said, some of the things people say lead us down a different direction, right? And it causes the investigation to kind of pivot. And like Nicole said, we're not here to just put people in jail because what we think is the truth, right? That's why we interview everyone and get everyone's fair side. And like I said, I don't know much about this investigation, but I assume that a lot has happened to make it so that you've transferred, ownership over to a third party. You've thought about this a lot. You've gone through a lot of steps. And so I want to make sure that I understand correctly and that the courts will hear this as well. That's why.
Okay.
So you haven't made any attempt to take down the website, if I'm correct, because you don't have access to it.
I emailed whoever might be monitoring the editor at desicapuano.com email address, which is right there on the website, which you guys could also email those people and ask them to take down the website. They know about the situation, what's going on, because it's been in the news and all. I haven't heard anything back from them, though. But since the intention of transferring ownership of the website to another party was so that I couldn't be compelled to take it down under any circumstances, it's not likely that they're going to do anything. Okay, because of what you've already put into motion, they wouldn't take it down even if you did email them. Right. Okay. And they know that I'm willing to sit in jail for, honestly, for the rest of my life if I need to for this. So. Why? All right. People always can't figure that out. Okay. I had a certain quality of life, a certain standard of living before all of this began, and before all of this nonsense with my ex-wife. I had a career, made good money. I had custody of my son that I was raising without any contact from her. And then she comes out of the blue and starts creating all of these problems. I get deported to a foreign country that I have no status in. And then, of course, all the news media and all the justice system completely takes her side with all of her allegations, even though I have proof that she's lying about all this stuff, but nobody cares. So, because of all the stuff that's been in the news media, there's no way that I'd be able to get any kind of employment in Canada. I would probably in the US because, I mean, people in the US see this for what it is. It's nonsense. It's complete stupidity that you guys will put somebody in prison for so long for something that, well, criminal harassment doesn't exist as a criminal offense in the US. And so I'm sure I'd be able to get employment when I go back to the US, but still, a lot of people aren't going to want to work with somebody who's had all this bad publicity. And I've lost custody of my son, and I've had no contact with him now for so long. I've been exiled from the US. I mean, all I want is to go back to Los Angeles and get on with my life there, but I can't. As long as I'm on probation, then they can breach me, get a warrant for my arrest, and the US authorities are going to send me back here. Now, I've already at one point turned myself into CBSA so that I'd be sent back to the US. And that worked out fine, but then the prosecutor got a warrant because he said I left BC without permission. So then Homeland Security grabbed me and sent me back here. So the quality of my life has degraded and deteriorated so much because of all of this. And from my perspective, it didn't degrade because of what I've done. It degraded because my ex-wife goes around telling lies, and everybody accepts her lies, and nobody wants to hear anything about, and I don't want to make this a gender issue, but it seems to me, at least here in Canada, the news media definitely is trying to make it into that.
A gender issue?
Yeah. I mean, because she's a poor, helpless woman, and I'm this evil, vile man, and I'm abusing her and doing all of this stuff, but I mean, to begin with, at this point, the website really has very little to do with Capuano anymore. Any updates that have been put on the website since 2016 have been more about the corruption and injustice that's going on with my cases. So, given that the quality of my life has degraded so much at this point, being in jail isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, I'm living in a homeless shelter, for Christ's sake. Like, I was a senior software engineer before, making $100,000 to $150,000 a year. I had excellent credit, and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, because of the news media and because of her crying on the news media, and the news media only reporting her side of stuff, and even consider the police didn't get involved in the beginning because they probably saw that she was lying and that there was no crime. And it wasn't until I moved back to the US, and because I had a firearms license up here, then the RCMP panicked because I brought my firearms. The firearms I bought up here, I brought those back to the US with me, and the only reason I did that was because I had spent $4,000 to $5,000 on them, so I didn't want to just throw away $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
And then the news media makes it seem like I brought my guns down there so I can go harm my ex-wife, but I own other guns in the US. If I wanted to go harm her, in Arizona, you could just walk into a store and buy a gun. There's no registration or anything. So that's why I say I don't care about sitting in jail for the rest of my life, because as far as I'm concerned, my life as I knew it before is completely destroyed. It's over. I'm never going to be able to go back to it. I was a very honest, credible person before. But now, because of all the stuff that's been in the news, nobody would see me that way. So, go ahead, lock me up. I don't give a shit.
But I want to ask, so you guys were married, and you said you had custody of your son. Did you have custody without her? You said no contact with her. Did you have him for a period of time without her being around? Or
yes.
Did you guys just co-parent?
We separated in 2001, and then she went back with her ex-boyfriend or something in Florida. We were living in Los Angeles. So then she took off back to Florida, and then that's when I got custody of our son. And for many years, for 9 years, she made no effort to have any contact with us or anything. There was a couple of times during that period where, say, once I moved to Phoenix, where her mother lives, I was in contact with her mother contacted her, so she knew where we were, but she made no effort to have any contact with them. And then it wasn't until 2011 when I tracked her down and contacted her because maybe she might want to have some kind of relationship with Gabriel. And then she started scheming and such and being very nice and pretending or saying that she wasn't going to do anything Gabriel didn't want to do and she just wanted to be in his life, etc. And the first chance she got, she came to Los Angeles, took him, ran off to Arizona with him to get emergency custody, based on a false claim that I had been hiding him from her for 9 years. And then that lasted about 3 months, and then the family court ordered her to return him to me. And that was in 2011. Then she starts contacting like the Canadian consulate and Homeland Security and filing all kinds of false allegations against me. That eventually resulted in me being deported to Canada. That's when I lost custody of my son.
Why Canada? If you're both U.S. citizens?
Yes.
Why Canada?
I don't really know what kind of situation there was between Homeland Security and CBSA, but it's pretty clear to me at this point that whatever Homeland Security tells CBSA to do, they're going to do. And so the allegation was that I was an illegal alien from Canada. So eventually Homeland Security told CBSA or asked CBSA to accept me for deportation. They did, and I just wanted to get out of custody, so I said, wherever you want to send me to, I don't give a crap. I just want to get out of here, because I spent 4 years in Homeland Security custody from 2007 to 2011 fighting about that nonsense. The allegation that I was an illegal alien. They never provided any kind of concrete proof that I was, just a lot of suggestion and such.
Okay, and that's how we get to Canada.
That's how I ended up being deported here, yes.
Yeah, and since 2013, you said?
Yeah. I've got documents from IRCC and from CBSA, both clearly stating that I was born in the U.S., but they're on the website.
Yeah.
My FOSS record and my GCMS record, they both say that I was born in the U.S., but...
Okay, sorry. Yeah, obviously, like you can see, I've had access to some stuff, but I'm still like kind of confused on why things are the way they are. And I appreciate you explaining it, because I know you say like you must know this. It's on the media, it's in the news and stuff. But like you said, sometimes they don't report everything. So,
sometimes.
As an officer.
I'm blown away at how one-sided the Canadian news media is. At least in the U.S., like they do the same stuff in the U.S., but at least they make an effort to try to report the other side as well. Except for CNN and Fox, they're completely one-sided.
Well, and even if you in the U.S., even if you watch one news outlet, you might get one view, but you can still get the other side if you go to another news outlet.
Right.
So, I like to hear it straight from the source versus the media sometimes, so you can understand. So you did email though, sorry, just getting back to that, you did email the editor at the site to request to take it down, but because you've given this person their rights over this site right now, they won't take it down, because the whole point of you giving them that was because you didn't want to be compelled to have to take it down.
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay, so even if you emailed them, they said they won't. They didn't respond, but the idea is that they wouldn't, because of the whole reason they have it.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have a copy of that email?
Sure don't.
You don't at all? Okay. And when did you...
Sorry, I don't have a copy here.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a copy in my sent folder.
Okay. And you would be able to get that for us at some point?
Sure.
Okay. And what day did you send that?
Possibly Thursday or Friday.
Thursday.
I don't know.
Okay.
It wasn't something I paid too much attention to, because I didn't think that it's going to matter. I knew that eventually I'm going to be charged with this again, and then the Crown is going to do the thing where they go into court and tell a bunch of lies and ignore evidence and such, and then there'll be a trial, and then I'll be convicted, and then I'll appeal, and the appeal will be dismissed, and I'll serve whatever sentence. I'll probably get, I got 16.5 months on the previous one, so I'll probably get 2.5 years, maybe 3 years on this one for a breach.
So you didn't think that even just sending that email would, even though it...
My experience with the justice system here is that none of this is going to matter.
What would the email to the editor?
Yeah, any truth or reality or evidence that I provide at the trial isn't going to make any difference.
Okay.
Like at the 2 previous breach trials, the Crown and the judge both acknowledged that the Crown didn't provide any evidence that I have any ownership or control or any direct involvement in the website, but still found me guilty.
It's just one after the other after the other. It feels like just listening to you, you're already expecting this. It's like you're predicting, because you've gone through this time and time again. And yet you're still, like when you get the website back after the probation, like you said, what's going to happen? You're not going to be on probation anymore. Like, how does this end? In a perfect world for you, how does this look at the conclusion? No probation, you've got the website back. Like,
Well, at
How
that
does this
point, I
work?
won't be in Canada anymore either, so.
You'll be in the you'll go back to the U.S. That's for sure.
The U.S. or somewhere else,
Okay.
but I won't be in Canada. That's the part that's relevant.
Okay. So you'll want to leave the country. Does the website stay up forever? At any point do you and her ever like squash it? Do you know what I mean? Like at any point does it ever end?
Sure. Once we figure out how to time travel and go back 5 or 6 years, well, actually, I probably want to go back to before being deported and losing custody of my son. Once we can figure out how to do that, then possibly.
Okay. Just too much has happened.
As I said, my life is destroyed and ruined, not because anything that I did particularly, but because she has such a willingness to tell whatever lies and just shed a couple of tears to get what she wants, and everybody just believes it all. I mean, sure, you could say, oh, but this is happening because you created this website, but there's nothing illegal about the website. Like, if the website was illegal, then I could understand, but it's not. I mean, for it to be criminal harassment, she has to have a reasonable and objective fear for her safety based on the alleged conduct. She has no reasonable, or she has no fear for her safety whatsoever. Consider, and wait, I'm trying to think if this is on the website. No, I don't think it is, but it came up in the, well, I brought it up numerous times in court. Since the current website has been online, it's been over 2.5 years now. She's never filed a complaint with the hosting provider. She's never tried to get any kind of court order in Arizona, which is where the website is hosted, to get the website taken down. She's taken no steps at all. She doesn't give a crap. She's just doing this, I believe, just to spite me, just to get back at me. And of course, because the victim services people keep pushing her to do something.
So you don't believe that she has any reasonable fear of you? There's no, like, you guys never had there's no domestic issues between you, arguments,
No, none
fights,
whatsoever.
no threats, no nothing?
She's even stated herself in her police interviews that she doesn't believe that I would ever physically harm her or physically do anything to her. She said in her victim impact statement that she never believed that I would actually go to Arizona. And sorry, I'm trying to think of other times that she might have said something that proves that she doesn't believe that I would do anything to her, but those are the two main ones.
And do you think that she, by the website remaining up, that she is affected by that site at all? Do you think that it impacts her at all? Whether it's fear, whether it's, what effect do you think the website has on her?
I believe it does have some impact or effect on her, in as much as, for example, if she applies for a job, it might be more difficult because people don't want to hire somebody who might bring complications to the workplace that might stem from something like that, or who's gotten bad publicity. Just like I said with myself, because I've been in the news media, a lot of companies won't hire me simply because of that. But as far as how it affects her psychologically or emotionally, I believe she wants the website to remain online because she uses that to get people's pity and sympathy.
Oh, so you think that she feels that she's benefiting from it because it causes people to look at her as the victim?
Yes.
Okay.
And
it also affects possibly her livelihood in terms of like making money because she might not be able to get a job.
Right, but I don't think that she cares about that because I'm sure that her boyfriend or fiance or husband or whatever she has now is willing to support her. And the theory that I have about her wanting to keep the website online is also supported by the fact that the pictures of her son, her other son Sage, that were put on the website at some point about him by the pool in his underwear or something, she made a big deal about that in the news media and at the trial. The reality of that is that those pictures came from her Facebook page. She put those on her Facebook profile back in, I think it was 2009. They were copied from there and then put onto the website. She never made any effort or attempt to ask me to take those pictures of her other son off of the website. This is going back to when I actually had control of the website before 2016. Even when the trial was going on, even after I was charged with this stuff, nobody ever asked me to take down these pictures of her son in his underwear by the pool. Pictures that she put on the internet, not me. So that shows that she is willing to use pictures that she or a reasonable person would believe might be harmful or damaging to her son for her benefit, to get people's pity and sympathy.
Oh, so you're saying she already posted those pictures. They're already out there on the internet. They're available. And then
yes, and that's also on the website.
And you've just reposted it.
Right. There's a copy of her Facebook timeline on the website. I can't remember when it's from, maybe like 2014, 2015 or something. Yeah. And that's where those pictures came from. So that proves that the pictures came from there, that she was the one that published them, not me.
Okay.
There's a lot of sociopaths out there, and sometimes sociopaths also happen to be female.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against women. I'm not misogynistic or anything. I don't give a crap about male or female. But I do give a crap about people who try to exploit other people's compassion or sympathy or understanding. And people like her do it all the time. I mean, that was the whole purpose of the website originally, was just to show people that this is the kind of person she is. So don't be fooled by her tears and her sweetness and such.
So after you guys have gone through all of this, the creation of the website was basically that, to give the truth about who she is and what she's done. That
Yes.
was the sole purpose of doing it, not to threaten her, not to hurt her, nothing, just to show her true colors, like basically like you just said.
Just like if a pedophile moves into the apartment next door to you, you might want to let the other people who live in the apartment building know that this person has those kinds of tendencies. So if you put posters up around the neighborhood just to inform people, you're not necessarily doing it to harm that person. You're doing it to let the other people know to watch their children around that person.
Okay. And like you said, the reason for the website, you don't have access to it right now to update it, but when you do get it back, you plan on keeping it up because you think, one, it's not criminal, two, she doesn't have a reasonable fear of it, and three, that you want to let everyone know the kind of person she is, so that's why it's going to remain up.
Well, you're also forgetting the aspect about exposing the corruption that's been going on in my cases.
Yes,
and
okay, I did forget that.
The website, it seems to me that the website is really more about that now than it is about Capuano. There hasn't been any information about Capuano, any new information about her, put on there for a few years now. Even though there is tons of information available, like from my trials and such. And I'm sure at some point in the future that's going to end up on there, like her testimony that proves that in fact everything on the website is true, that she was a stripper even though she's going around, and it's no big deal about being a stripper. The point is that she was lying about it. That she goes on the news and claims that everything on the website is lies and it's all false and it's harming her and such, and that she was never a stripper and she's not a drug addict and she's not a child abuser. But at the trial, she admitted that she does have a drug problem. She accepted the Prop 200 deferred prosecution for her marijuana possession charge. And I know up here marijuana is not a big deal, but at the time in the US, it was still illegal. And she had been using it her whole life. She smokes a joint when she first wakes up in the morning. That's a drug problem. So it's not false for me to say that she's a drug addict if every day she wakes up in the morning, smokes a joint, and throughout the entire day she's high all the time. The statement is actually true.
Okay. Can I just ask,
Sure.
if the site is more about the corruption in your cases and like our criminal justice system, why is it still so focused on her with like the username? Is that correct? The username? I said username, but like, the website address. Like why?
That was deliberate and strategic. Let's see, how can I
Now this is
explain
curiosity purposes. Like I just wonder like how, if people aren't going to get to see that versus if this site is addressed kind of under her name.
It's deliberate to link the two things together. I can't really explain it clearly at this point, but I'm sure it'll come up at the trial.
Okay. And then I know we had gotten to this point because I said, well, like what happens in the future? Gabriel is now, you said, I think 20? Did you say 20?
Assuming he's still alive, yes.
Okay. Are you going to try and seek him out?
I have.
Yeah.
In 2019, in March, he changed his last name to Tomlin. I found that from court records, from a public records search.
So it's Gabriel, what,
Tomlin.
Tomlin?
Desiree's maiden name.
Okay.
That makes it pretty clear to me that at this point he has no interest in having any further contact with me and such. And that's somewhat understandable considering his only sources of information about me since then have been what's in the news media and Desiree.
At any point, do you think that he'd like to explain your side of things? Do you think that this website is going to be accessed by him and is going to shed some light on your side, or do you think that you can do that to him in person?
I would, of course, want to be able to provide him the further information about the circumstances. Call it my perspective or my side if you want, but and one way to do that would be to put it on the website. But I'm not going to force anything on him, and if he doesn't want to have contact with me, then I'm going to respect that.
Do you think that the site, and we're pretty much done here, do you think the site creates that opening for him to reach out to his dad? Do you think that is almost a hindrance to him? It's this big thing that's out there that obviously has caused his mom some issues. It's still operating, and if he wants to have any relationship with you in the future, do you ever think that it's like a barrier? It's a barrier, yeah, for him, not for her. We're not talking about her. This is solely just for him now, because you seem like you have had this relationship with him. You've taken care of him for, what did you say, 9 years?
9 years.
Without any contact with her. There's a lot of love. That parental attachment, that doesn't just go away. He's seen you for who you are as a father, not as an ex-husband, not as this person who operates the site. He's seen you as you. So do you think that at that age, he still has those memories, he still has those connections with you, so he's probably, in his own mind, he's fighting those, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that she's such a skillful and effective manipulator that his perception at this point is probably completely influenced by whatever she's been telling him over the past few years. And as far as the website being a big deal or a big issue, it is here in Canada. In the US, it's not.
No.
When you Google it and you look in the US, there's been no news coverage about it in the US because, as I said, down there, it was a human interest story. That's it. It was like, oh, look at this weird thing going on. But nobody takes it seriously down there, and nobody's losing any sleep over it.
But do you think that she is losing sleep over it? Because the point of the website as well was to cause her issues in getting a job, to maybe make her worry about what is going to be posted on there, maybe what the next update's going to be, never knowing what's going to be put out there about you personally. So do you think if it's affected her to that point, that it's also going to affect him? So even though it's maybe not big in the news down there, it's still having some emotional and, psychological impacts on her, which is essentially going to impact him.
I don't think that it's having any psychological impacts on her because, as I pointed out, if she wanted the website taken down, there are steps that she could do. The simplest and most obvious one would be to file a complaint with the hosting provider. She hasn't even done that.
Would you be notified of that if she had?
Well, the site admins would be.
Okay. And then they would, I don't know what the requirements for, because I'm not obviously a U.S. citizen and because I don't have that tech background. If they were to get a request from her to take the website down or a complaint, is that something that they would have to follow up with? Would they have to do that?
They'd have to respond to it, yeah.
They would, okay. And then the host would get a hold of whoever runs the website, this third party, and then would they have to comply if the host said take it down? How does that?
What would happen is she would file the complaint with GoDaddy. GoDaddy would send an email to whoever the site admin is, the registered admin with the hosting provider, saying that they've received a complaint and please respond to it. And then that would be it from there, and then it would be resolved potentially that way.
That way, either taken down or they would respond to GoDaddy, and then the complaint would be resolved.
Right.
Okay. And you've never, or this third party has never received a request to do that?
Nobody has ever informed me of any such request. And something like that they would have.
They would have?
I'm sure.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Nicole, that I might have left out?
I think you circled back to that talking about the email when that was received and sent about.
You said that possibly Thursday or Friday you might be able to get us a copy of that, of you emailing the editor and that email address that's on the website.
I will be able to forward you a copy of it once I'm released from custody in 3 years or so. I don't have access to email in jail, so.
Okay,
Right.
but
if we're like, because we're obviously going to do an investigation and try to find that email so we can prove whether or not you did comply or not. So if we're looking for that email, where are we going to look? Is it like a Gmail account? Is it your personal email?
Gmail.
okay.
But to do that, you would have to get a warrant in the U.S. and you would have to compel Google to give you access to that.
Well, maybe. We do request information all the time from various sites, and then we also have your devices too, which we can just look on without a warrant, with a warrant, but we don't have to ask.
Sure, if you can get into them, yes.
Right. Okay. Like it would help you if we can find that email, right? So if
That would prove that you weren't breaching your conditions, at least. And do you, at this point, do you care to prove that? Because you've just explained so much to me, like with the third party.
Well, as I was saying earlier about the quality of my life, and now on top of it, you guys have seized my laptop and my phone. So even if you were to not book me in at this point and I was to walk out of here, now I have no laptop or phone. So now the quality of my life gets down even farther. Now I'm just some homeless guy staying at the Belkin House, smoking crappy Canadian cigarettes.
If you can prove that the email was sent, though, why would we keep your laptop and your computer, or your laptop
like
and
we
your
would
phone?
keep it until we don't need it anymore.
And yeah, so it's going to be released to you. We're not just going to destroy your devices.
Right, but it won't be released to me until the case is done. The laptop that was seized previously, the hard drive was locked, and so there's no way you guys could have gone into it and seen anything. There was no evidence on there anyway, but that's still sitting in your evidence locker.
That's fair if it has to go to a trial, but like if we as investigators, like I said, we're talking to you to try to get your side and gather evidence that we need to either prove or not prove the charges. So if we can go in and find that evidence that you have on your device, we wouldn't need to keep it for a trial, because we've been out, there's no evidence, so there's no charge, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of where we come from.
Is that something you would want to provide to us?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
And like I said, we would definitely have to write a warrant for your devices. You can provide your passwords, which would help us get it back to you faster. That's your prerogative. We're offering it to you if you'd like. But something to think about.
Okay, I've thought about it. No, I'm not going to give you the passwords.
That's fair. You know what?
It's been my experience with the justice system up here that, not you guys specifically, but in general, the justice system participants are going to put as much effort as they can into trying to find information or stuff that they can cherry pick to make me look bad. So,
yeah.
Again, I say not you two.
I can appreciate that, because you have had, it's been a long haul, right? Like, it's been many years of this, and it's kind of cyclical, right? It's just a revolving door for you, right? So I can totally appreciate where you're coming from. I've listened to your story here, and that is part of like what we do differently in our unit. Like, we look at like the family, not just like the offender, victim, all that kind of stuff. Like we were like, how did we get here? How do we get away from what's going on? And that's why she asks you questions about like where do you see this going in the future? How does this end? All that kind of stuff, because we're here to help. Like, we're not just here to put you in jail, because like actually in Canada that doesn't happen very often.
And also to be honest and to be with you, like we have families, like we're mothers as well, and we know that there's two sides to every story, and not one person is always the offender and is always the victim. There's a lot of back and forth at times, and things can get ugly. And so for me, I want to understand like how you got to this point, because I don't think that anyone wakes up and chooses to do this out of nowhere. They don't. No one chooses. Like, there's always a backstory, and I have a better understanding of why you have gotten to this point and why you don't want to take it down, and why maybe you can't, or you've put things in motion where it can't be taken down. Like, I have a better understanding of it, because, like you said, sometimes you don't get that if you read a news article about you or the case. Like, you don't get that. It's just, yeah. So thanks for talking to us. I do appreciate it.
I guess I just had one more question about, like, so there was stuff posted on the website, things like, you know, personal information like addresses, phone numbers, and everything like that. So in your mind, you don't feel that that's harmful, like for safety-wise, like putting somebody's personal information?
Well, that information's been on there since at least 2015. Nothing has happened. I mean, that's been 6 years.
That you know of.
Well, true. And I'm a firm believer that if a person goes around treating other people poorly, taking advantage of them and screwing them over and stabbing them in the back and doing all of this kind of stuff, they shouldn't be surprised when that comes back and bites them in the ass eventually. And I don't believe that any physical harm would come to her as a result of the website. There's nothing on the website like that would agitate people to the point that they would seek her out and try to harm her.
Okay. Is there anything else before we conclude the interview that you would like to tell me, or questions for me, or I hope I can answer them, but is there anything else you'd like to say?
Sure. In that breach case about leaving British Columbia without permission, for 6 months, CBSA and the Crown insisted that there was no record of me presenting myself to CBSA on that day when I turned myself in at the Peace Arch border crossing. Eventually, I obtained the records from IRCC proving of the CBSA officer's notes from when she was interacting with me on that day. So for 6 days or 6 months, the Crown and CBSA were lying about the existence of this information because it would be something to help prove my case. And then, of course, the video footage of me at the border on that day, they destroyed the video footage before I could obtain it. The RCMP knew about it because the RCMP went there to request any video footage they had, and so there's records of that showing that they had requested it. That's the kind of corruption that's been going on, and that's why I have no confidence in, no offense, but no confidence in anything that you're telling me about how you're trying to be fair and reasonable. I mean, it was very blatant that they were covering up and destroying evidence, like claiming that there's no record that I presented myself, and so clearly I must be lying. That's how the Crown had said it in court. And then once I did bring up the evidence from IRCC that proved it, all of a sudden, then they got the CBSA officer to come and testify. The judge did nothing about it. When my probation officer committed perjury at my trial, again, the court does nothing about it. Nobody cares that when I cross-examined him, I confronted him on it, and it was proven that he lied about what he had said on direct examination. So,
can I ask just then? So you turned yourself into CBSA, or you tried to cross the border, which would have been a breach?
No, I turned myself into CBSA first because it's not a loophole. It's the way the law is. A port of entry is considered, even though it's on Canadian soil, it's still in British Columbia, the Douglas border crossing. But once you enter that protected space that's considered the port of entry, you're considered to be outside of Canada for the purposes of seeking admission. So I knew that once I entered the port of entry, then the burden would be on me to show that I'm admissible to Canada, and CBSA would have to deny me re-entry. And that way, I could effectively get myself deported from Canada without breaching the probation.
Oh, okay.
And this all came up at the trial, but didn't matter.
Okay. So they just called it a breach instead of you trying to avoid breaching, but also trying to be deported.
Right.
Okay.
And the Crown had said before that in the event I'm deported or asked to leave by CBSA or IRCC, that obviously they wouldn't prosecute me for a breach on that, because then I'm not leaving voluntarily. I'm leaving because I legally have to. So that's what I did. But still, they called it a breach.
Okay.
So I have no confidence whatsoever in the justice system here. I mean, you guys are going to do what you're going to do, and I'll be prosecuted and I'll be convicted regardless of whatever evidence I happen to bring up or show.
Okay, well, I hope that you feel like you were treated fairly by Nicole and I today.
Yes, I believe I was treated fairly, yes.
Yeah, and you've
been very nice allowing me to smoke and bringing me the coffee and all.
It is first thing in the morning. So that's the least we can do.
Yeah.
And we are offering ways to try and prove that you did send an email.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you know that there's no collusion, there's no nothing. It's I don't want to see someone sit in jail
mm-hmm.
for 6 months, a year and a half, especially someone who wants to possibly move on with their life and get back to what life you do have. Because I'm not gonna not acknowledge the fact that it has been significantly affected. So I hear you, and I understand that there's going to be a big impact on you trying to move on with your life. But we are trying. If we can prove that, then there's no breach. But
and then we can go back to your plan A, which seems to me to be like waited out till December and then go back, right? Like that would have been, I think, preferable, waiting out the 6 months out of jail and then getting to go back when your probation ends, versus now going to sit potentially for however long it ends up being. Like, you seem like such a smart, you're a very intelligent guy, and you're, constantly kind of trying to come up with plans to win and beat the system. But that to me seemed to be like an easy way to do it. I don't know, something to consider.
On the one hand, I can be out of custody from now until December, mm-hmm. staying in homeless shelters, stressing about whether or not I'm going to have a place to stay tomorrow or next week, and whether or not I'm going to be able to eat. Or I can be sitting in a jail cell, provided 3 meals a day, and a warm, safe, comfortable, well, not comfortable bed, but
right.
Like I said, 6 and 1/2 dozen. I mean.
Okay. No, I'm trying to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I get your logic. Like, I totally do. And I don't want to see you back here. I've been in the when you were arrested the last time. That was like, I just came to this unit, and I don't want to I don't want to have to keep coming
mm-hmm.
back and doing this all over again, because again, it seems like you have a goal in mind. Like, you just want to move on with your life, potentially rekindle a relationship with your son. Like, we don't want to get in the way of that, right? But again, sometimes the decisions that are up to you end up leading to this point, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Well, all I can say about that email is that I will happily forward a copy of it to you when I'm able to do so. I'm not going to give you access to my mail accounts. Part of the reason is because there are literally thousands of emails in there from like the past 10 or 15 years. And by giving you access to my email account, I'm giving you access to all of that. And so... And the other thing is, no, there was no other thing. That's it.
Okay. If you don't have any...
there was another thing. Yes, I remember. Okay. Even if I provided you, or even if you obtained that email, it doesn't necessarily prove anything. I mean, all it proves is that I sent an email to an email address. I mean, the Crown is going to look at it and go, oh, well, we still want to prosecute him because he's got stuff on the website that makes us look bad. And then on top of that, now... there's additional new stuff from this previous case.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know if you know the extent of work that goes into prosecuting a case. Like,
I know. You guys have spent a ridiculous amount of money locking me up over the past 5 years. If
Crown can be like, no, this doesn't meet charge approval because he made an attempt to take down the website,
mm-hmm.
Why would they spend all that money or all that time or all those resources prosecuting you? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're, I don't want to sound rude, but it's not like, we're not focusing all of the resources just to get back at you, right? Like,
and that's not something we withhold either. We give everything to Crown.
Yeah.
Here is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Does this even...
make a decision?
Yeah.
Right? So it just, yeah.
I have no reason to believe that VPD has been engaging in the kind of corruption that CBSA and maybe the RCMP have been doing in my cases. The charges that VPD has brought against me, I haven't seen any evidence of that, so I'm not suggesting that you guys would do the kind of stuff that CBSA was doing. But the Crown, on the other hand, I mean, they're a bunch of sketchy, shady assholes, and they don't care. They just care that there's stuff on the website that makes them look bad, and the news media is bothering them about, oh, why are you letting this guy get away with this stuff? So.
Okay. Anything else from you?
I can't. No, I only had just the 2 questions that I jotted down through the story. So I think we've definitely
covered everything.
Covered most of the stuff, and we definitely have a better kind of
understanding. For sure. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Sure.
And if you don't have anything else, we'll conclude the interview.
Okay.
Is that all right? So
I have nothing else.
The time is 8:49, and we will be concluding the interview. I'll just be turning this off.
I'm gonna go next door and turn off the video.
And then we'll get you back over to the jail, okay? So 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 over to the jail, okay?